Welcome to Michigan's True Spirit podcast, brought to you by North River Vodka. North River Vodka, it's Michigan's true spirit. Now, here's Chris and Eric.
Welcome to the Michigan's True Spirit podcast. I'm Chris. This is Eric, and we should all take a second to reintroduce ourselves after we took, 4 or 5 weeks off. Eric, what have you been up to?
This is so strange. Who are you? What am I doing?
I'm Chris.
What's this about? Hi, Chris.
Please.
What am I doing? I'm preparing for some spring break travels. Otherwise it's just work. What's up with you?
I got to tell you what I've done since we talked last. I don't
Would
know why
you,
I just talked like
please?
Kermit the Frog there. No, what? Let me tell you. I've been curling.
Oh,
I
really?
took up curling. Yes. Our local hockey rink, local ice rink, is hosting a curling club from another city who lost their ice, which is apparently an epidemic. I understand that Kalamazoo and Lansing curling clubs have both lost their ice. So they ran some learn to curls in my town, and I went to learn to curl, and it was fun, and my knee didn't fall off,
Okay,
barely.
good.
And then I went back and played the next two drop-in league nights, 2 Sundays in a row. And I will have you know, I am 2-0. I'm undefeated
Really?
in my curling career. I have not been beaten.
What an achiever. You're like a natural.
No. Although I will like to encourage people, if you want to take up curling, we had Matt Sussman on from the
Yeah.
Curling Association a month ago. What was it? He's the president of the Great
Great
Lakes Curling
Lakes.
or
Yeah.
something. And starting new things is always intimidating, right?
It is.
Curling folks are friendly. Like they're all basically Canadians, even if they're not.
Yep.
Like they're the friendliest people on earth. And I will also say this, and I hope none of them hear this and take this as a dig. But I expected the talent level between the longtime curlers and the beginning curlers to be bigger than it actually is. So like
Okay.
if you go and you can make a rock go the length of the ice and you can not fall down and hurt yourself, you'll fit right in. It's fine. It's
It's fun.
cool. So yeah, it's been a
You,
good time.
I was a little coy, but I've actually taken up a new hobby as well.
Oh yeah, what's
And
that?
it is darts. Darts. I have a whole dart setup. I bought some fancy darts. You can get the app and it like auto scores for you. So I've been playing a lot of darts, and I figure, the opportunity for injury pretty low unless
Pretty
you
low.
poke yourself,
Yeah,
and relatively cheap. You know, a nice
absolutely.
dartboard. The fanciest dartboard that the pros use is like $90. It's
Do
fine.
you say barbecue sauce before you throw it like Ted Lasso?
I understand the reference, but no, I just I just basically throw it.
Have you not seen Ted Lasso?
Of course I have. I know
Oh
exactly what
gosh.
reference
Oh
you're
my
talking
gosh.
about.
I thought we were gonna skip all the guests and
In
just
fact,
you read the book?
I read a Reddit post or whatever, and they did a shot by shot breakdown based on the score that was flashed in the dart scene. And they recreated what Rupert and Ted probably threw on each shot. So yeah, I'm pretty familiar.
Okay. I went from thinking you've never seen Ted Lasso to thinking you're a total nerd. Actually, I knew that before. So yeah.
Savage.
So anyway, we've rambled long enough.
Yeah.
We got a guest on our show tonight. We have a baseball Hall of Famer, longtime Detroit news
Yeah.
writer, author, and former, I don't know, it's weird. I want to call him a coworker. I worked for M Live, he worked for the Detroit News.
A
But
competitor. Yeah, a
yeah,
rival.
cohort. That's not the right word. Co there's
Comrade
a
is more accurate than
I don't know. It's
rival.
a co something. But the weird thing about baseball beat or any sports beat is that you see all of your competitors every day and you never see your coworkers. Like I never saw
Right?
the Red Wings writer, the Lions writer. Like we work for the same company, but I never saw him. So yeah, Tom felt like a coworker. So we'll be right back with Tom Gage.
This is Alex Avila, and you're listening to Michigan's True Spirit Podcast.
Welcome back to the Michigan's True Spirit Podcast. I am Chris. I am here with Eric. We've been talking for 20 minutes. I don't know if you're going to see the light of any of that conversation, but we are here with longtime baseball writer of the Detroit News, baseball Hall of Famer, author, a man who works harder in retirement than I do in my non-retirement, Tom Gage. Tom Gage. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Chris. I have worked hard in retirement. I'm glad I don't cover baseball anymore because it's not covered in the same way as you and I covered it. These writers don't even have access to the coaches, and they can't talk to the trainer. And there are many more restrictions than we knew when we covered baseball.
Yeah.
But I do like baseball research, and that's what I've gotten into into retirement. I've done this book, the current book that just came out yesterday, Your Detroit Tigers, the Great, the Good, and I did one with Lance Parrish and the late great Mickey Lolich. I did one with Tram, and the first book that was just a general big event story. So I really, I wasn't a big project guy when we were beat writers. I wanted the story done that night and then on to the next day. But I've become a kind of a project guy in retirement.
You've written more books in retirement in the past 10 years than I've read in the past 10 years, Tom. So that's something. Yeah, and the book is Your Detroit Tigers, The Great, the Good, the Top 400. And Tom wrote that with Alex Avila, and you guys just released that like last week, or
Yeah,
been
we
very
had
recently, right?
we had a book event in Lakeland a week ago Saturday, and that launched it. And then the local launch will be at Hockeytown Cafe in June. So I'm wrapping up the other book with Lance with a couple of events in May, and then I'll turn the page and start pushing this book.
Tell us about the book. My understanding is that you guys rank the top 400 Tigers of all time, and like how did that process go? And my understanding is you came up with some type of formula, so there was like basically a ranking system, so that it wasn't based on your opinion or Alex's opinion.
When Cabrera retired, uh, somebody called him the Tigers' greatest hitter ever. And I acknowledge that Cabrera was a great hitter, and then and despite the fact that he and I didn't really get along, I did, he he deserves to be high on any list. But I didn't know exactly where to rank him, and I thought it was only fair to come up with a list to answer that question. And I'll tell you, he's seventh on the Tigers' all-time list, and I think that's a good place because he's certainly in the top 10. But people forget this book is based on Tiger stats, but only as Tigers. And Miguel played 25% of his career for Florida. So, his Hall of Fame plaque will acknowledge that, and also his lifetime stats bear that out. So what you see is not exactly what you get.
Yeah, I was interested in asking you about that because by using the formula, it sounds like if you're using Tiger years only, like you could have the best, like you could have the best player of all time, but if you only spent a year or two with the Tigers, he's not going to make that list because he didn't have the
Case in
body of
point,
work.
Chris. Case in point, Mickey Cochran, who is a Tiger legend, but he only played 2 full seasons for the Tigers,
Sure.
and then he was injured for 2 more, and he led them to a World Series championship. But because he only played 2 years, he's 161st on the list.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah, guys like Torrey Hunter or Johnny Damon or whatever, huge names, but their window, you get some bonus points for longevity as a Tiger to be
Absolutely. Yeah, in this book you do. And
Yeah.
that's why Mickey Lolich ended up really as easily the number 1 pitcher. Verlander is second. Here I am giving it all away, but it's no big secret who would be number 1 and 2. But Mickey certainly had the advantage of longevity.
Yeah, don't give any more away, Tom. You got to pay the bills and sell some books. So
You don't want to know where Phil Koch ranked?
uh, I'm going to get a book.
Good.
I haven't got one yet, but I'm going to get a book and find out for myself. Before we go any further, I don't know if you know this, Tom. We haven't done a podcast in like a month, so the whole system is broken down. We're supposed to start by going around and talk about what we're drinking. So really quickly, I'm drinking whiskey on the rocks. This is Grand Traverse Distillery Michigan wheat. This is exactly what I drank at our last podcast like 5 weeks ago. What you got, Tom?
Yuengling Black and Tan.
Oh yeah,
Very
Yuengling.
nice.
Get it in Michigan
nice.
now. Yeah.
Very nice.
Very good.
I'm
What you got, Eric?
drinking a Boulevardier, which is like a whiskey Negroni.
Very
One
nice.
of my favorites. So
We used to. This was a North River vodka podcast. We always used to drink North River vodka.
I
Little
got
Jim
a
here.
bottle with
You
me.
got a bottle on your couch.
It's never out of arm's reach. Don't worry about it.
Next week, I'm going to make a vodka drink. Tom,
Hey, Chris, I want to let you know I went to buy your vodka at a
Yep.
place in East Point, on the east side here in Detroit.
yeah,
And they said, well, we're either out of it or we don't stock it. But they said, but we hear it's very good. So that's as much as I know about your vodka.
that's awesome that they hear it's very good. I wish they would carry it. And this is my message to you and to everybody who's listening. I can't. If you want to bottle any liquor store that carries it, should be willing to order you one. They won't pick it up if I ask them because I'm just another guy. They see me as a sales guy. But if you're a customer and you want to try North River vodka, any liquor store with their salt should carry it for you. Pick up a bottle, order a bottle. They should be able to get it for you that week. So I'm sorry.
But I did watch your podcast with Brad Osmus, and I do respect his opinion, and he seemed to like it a lot.
Brad was not only a big fan of the vodka, Brad spent more time like making the drink and like getting the glass cold. Like I appreciated the care he put into that drink. He absolutely did. And we actually delayed that for a week because he didn't get a bottle of vodka in time. And I said, you can drink something else. And he was like, I'm not coming on your podcast if we're not drinking your vodka. So we delayed him a week so he could get a bottle. So thanks for the shameless plug, even though none of us is drinking.
I saw, by the way, I saw Brad in Lakeland, and it was really good to see him. We're all looking a little older, but and he's not an exception. But it was really, he and Leland, of course, were two great managers to cover.
Yeah, very, very different. And like you said, and we don't need to delve into this too deeply, but things have changed. Like the time where we would just hang out and sit in the office for 25 minutes before a game and talk to the manager, the ability to sit in the office after the game and then occasionally wait out everybody and talk to the manager yourself and get something that nobody else got. Like those days are over. Like it's press conferences, it's podiums, it's all filmed. Like I just don't know how you get nuggets anymore. And I think that changed during COVID for good reason. And they just took it as an opportunity to not change back. But I also think it's manager preference, right? Like I don't know AJ Hinch, but if he wanted to spend 25 minutes before the game in his office with the media, he could. But times have changed.
Yeah, but imagine this: these guys haven't once seen him asleep on the pull-out couch. So
his feet up on, Mm-hmm.
That was Jim Leland, not Brad Osmus. If anybody has any idea of who that was. So, Tom, tell us speaking of where you can find things, tell people where they can find your book. Also.
Well, it's published by Triumph Books out of Chicago, but it's on Amazon, and that's where you find everything now. And so it's available on Amazon. It's available from Triumph Books. I imagine it's available at any bookstore if there are any other. It's
there are bookstores.
Yeah, there aren't many left, but it's available there, and it'll be available at any one of our book events that we will have throughout June and July.
Where can people find out where your book events are as well? Like, is there a social media channel they should get on and follow to find out where you're going to be?
I'll put it on Facebook. I always post the schedule on Facebook.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the problem is Lance Parrish lived in Clarkston, and so it was easy to set up events with him. Alex lives in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
And but he's very willing to. He's been a delight to work with. He's very willing to come up. He's going to come up in June for a full week, and we're going to have 5 or 6 events then. He's coming back in July. We'll have 5 or 6 book events then, and he's really enjoyed it, and he's his knowledge of what he's talking about is quite impressive.
He always struck me as one of these guys who was kind of a go-to. If you needed a quote, if you needed just somebody available, if you needed a bit of wisdom, he was a guy. And in your tenure, were there other guys that were just really kind of solid who you knew you could just get a little tidbit from, who were enjoyable to work with?
Well, mostly the other way, actually. There were
Okay,
guys,
right?
you know, Mickey Tettleton was a guy I really liked. But if Mickey thought he had said something funny, or if he saw you writing it down, he would say, "Well, that's off the record." And I
Sure.
would go, "Mickey, what are you doing? That's a
Mhm.
good comment." Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to. And so, you soon learn not to spend that much time over
Mm.
at Mickey Middleton's locker. But I mean, the answer to that is, the usual guys. Daryl Evans would go on forever. Lou Whitaker, once he started talking, wouldn't stop talking. And Tram was always good. Tom Brookins was one of my favorites.
Mm, mhm.
Jack, when he wasn't insulting you, was fine. And it was, but we're talking about the 84 Tigers, and you probably want to talk about the 06 and 12 Tigers. I don't really remember those teams. Verlander was fine,
Sure.
but Verlander was very smart and knew, but the problem is he knew he was smart. So the guy who used to kid him a lot about that was Brandon Inge. And now that I mentioned Brandon was a guy. One time, the office called me and wanted a story about Dimitri Young because they thought he was a troublemaker. I took the call in Minnesota, and the first guy, we were staying at a downtown hotel, and I turned around, and on the escalator, there's Brandon Inge. And so I go over to Brandon Inge, and I said, "Brandon, you don't have to throw anybody under the bus for me, or you don't even have to answer this question. But has Dimitri become a troublemaker?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "You can." Well,
Oh, wow. Okay, then.
Brandon Inge was never afraid of a strong answer, and I really, to this day, I like Brandon a lot.
This is interesting, Tom, because a lot of people ask me about who the good guys were and who the bad guys were, and a lot of times, like I just try not to tell them what I think because, like, part of me, I don't want to ruin. Like, if you're a fan of a guy, I don't want to ruin it for you. And just because a guy was bad to me doesn't mean he's a bad guy, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's interesting listening to you talk about some of these guys. Like, go ahead. Who are your favorites and your least favorites? Like, who's the most despicable person you covered? I'm joking, but go ahead if you want to.
well, I've already made the remark that Miguel and I didn't get along. That didn't mean that I disliked him. We just
Sure.
didn't get along. We never saw eye to eye at all from the beginning. You know, he in his first season with the Tigers, he got off to a fairly good start and then got into a rather prolonged slump. And I ran a story about how he's not really improved much over his rookie season with the Marlins. And the Tigers had not a trainer back then, but a guy who led them through calisthenics. And he came out of his office and said, "Miguel, here's the guy that's ripping you." And so that got us off on a wrong foot.
You know, if you, I don't, we're getting really insider baseball here, but here we are. Like, why wouldn't we? If like the World Baseball Classic, they talk about, I saw people like, there's no cheering in the press box, but in the Dominican there is. And I think I think a lot of issues, and I don't think this is anything bad for me to say. I think some of the issues involving Miguel and others in the media is that, first of all, there's somewhat of a language barrier. Um,
Yeah, somewhat.
Sarcasm is not always,
Sarcasm is not always understood.
and also in Latin countries, the media just cheerleads.
Hmm.
So I think when players come here from Venezuela or Dominican, and the media is not like applauding everything that they do well, there's like this weird distrust. And I don't know, maybe we're way too off the beaten path, but I think that's the basis of some of that at least. So, but yeah, I had similar experiences. I don't talk about this much. I had similar experiences with Miguel, but people I trusted told me he was a great dude, a great teammate. I saw him do wonderful things for, kids in spring training, have them come out the field and hand them a ball, like make their dreams come true. So I try not to tell a lot of people that Miguel and I had issues because they don't care and they shouldn't. They can be a fan. That's cool with me.
Yeah,
Um,
what the way I answer it, Chris, is just because Miguel and I didn't get along, that doesn't mean he was a bad guy. It
Sure.
just meant we didn't get along.
Exactly.
Jack Morris and I didn't get along for a long time, and then all of a sudden we ended up flying next to each other on a flight back from Boston, and we had to talk to each other, and so we did, and that kind of sorted out our problems. But I remember the time in '84 he stopped talking to the media, and Sparky finally convinced him to talk. And when he did, he gathered the media around, and he said, "Hey, I am talking again, but there's one guy among you that I can't stand, and that's Tom Gage." And he said he knows nothing about baseball. He should be covering shuffleboard. So I reminded Jack about that many years later, and we had a good laugh. But luckily, we were past our problems by then.
Interesting though about, and you said that it's about Alex, and it is funny because there's a certain segment of fans who think media should have no positive feelings towards anybody they ever cover, and I think that's crazy. And you can conduct yourself in an unbiased way. I always said, like, I didn't care if the team won, and I truly didn't. It didn't. I rooted for me. I rooted for no rain delays. I rooted for 1, 2, 3 innings. I rooted for playing connections to make it. Um, if I ever rooted for the Tigers, it was in the 9th inning after they had lost 4 in a row. If their bullpen was about to blow it, I didn't want them to blow it, but that wasn't about them. It was about me because I didn't want to go talk to angry players.
Well, right? Chris, you rooted for the story, and you didn't want to have to rewrite your story. Hey, right? You're talking to a guy in 1983. I had a perfect game story written about Milt Wilcox, all set to go, and then Jerry Hairston breaks it up with 2 outs in the 9th. And that really taught me, many times you had to write a story before the game was over, and you had to throw it out. And so eventually, you learn to root for the story, and you learn for no complication.
You're giving me too much credit because I don't even know if I was rooting for the story. I just think selfishly I was rooting for myself. I do remember one time putting it on Facebook during a game that I had just written the best lead I had ever written in my life. And if this game turns, no one is ever going to see it. And as a writer, and I don't remember what it was, but as a writer, it was like one of the most depressing moments. Like, I'm not very good. This is one sentence I wrote that is good, and it might not see the light of day.
You were always better than you gave yourself credit for, though.
Thanks, Tom. Anyway, we should get back on track. Eric, do you have something to get us back to on topic? Because we're just ranting about the Tigers, which is fine.
You started this conversation with talking about, how the environment around the game is a little bit different, the availability. And, it just seems interesting that the game today is kind of like this vertical integration. You got, sponsors on the logos, you got the press conference with the sponsor, you got, now the TV is aligned with the club. A lot of the media like ecospheres like narrowed down. And of course, Beck does a great job, but it seems like the league itself is almost controlling more and more of the media, obviously the television. How would you compare the modern baseball ecosystem to how it was?
It's a great observation you're making. A great observation. It's the difference between objective coverage and advocacy. And the league wants you to promote the teams. And the most of the media, I have to say, is all too willing to do that because they haven't brought up in the age of covering a team supposed to be negative now. You know how I watch baseball? With a sound off. I mean, I covered enough games to know what's going on. If I can't watch a game with a sound off and know what's going on, then I wasted all those years. And I don't like the way baseball is talked about. I don't like the way it's covered. I'm not saying these guys aren't talented. They are. Yeah, Dan Petrie is a gem of a guy. But I just don't want to hear all the promotion of the team.
Makes sense.
Is that what you're talking about?
It's exactly. It's almost like a lot of the warts and blemishes are kind of filtered or massaged away. Like you don't get a little bit of the grit and the backstory or the fun. It's like many things in life these days. It all seems kind of packaged and polished. Even it always has been, but even to a more
Yeah, and I had two guys, Bo Schembechler, who I liked a lot, but he called me Gloomy Gage, and that was his nickname for me because he didn't like baseball was different than college football for him.
right.
We covered 162 games, not 11, and so we had many more opportunities to be sarcastic. And I think it was after my lead one day when I said, "Look, Ma, see the funny little team," and that was my lead. And he didn't like it, and I don't blame him for not liking it. But welcome, it was kind of like welcome to the big leagues, Bo,
Yep.
because that's how it's done up here. And now you don't ever see anything like that. Most of what you see, especially, I have to say this with columnists, uh, they don't take a stand. They write feature stories, and they're very good at writing feature stories, but they still are positive feature stories.
Mhm.
And not since maybe Drew Sharp or somebody like that did you really have anybody pulling the rug out from under a team.
Is that baseball centric? Is that Detroit centric, or is that across the country in all sports? Do you think? I'll give a little opinion first. I do think a lot of it is just based on the limited number of journalists that exist in sports departments anymore.
Right.
Because
Right.
there used to be beat writers and backup writers and features writers and columnists, and now like half the time the columnists are on the road with the Tigers, they're covering the team, like they're covering the games, because
Yeah,
they're ostensibly the backup writer. Like, do you see that as just like a as a
what I
as a
see,
national issue?
Chris, is that most people think that the coverage of baseball is the MLB network and saying how great these guys are. And yes, they're fine players, but I learned, and you and I both learned, I'm sure, that just because you're a fine player doesn't make you a great person. And that was a tough lesson for us as beat writers to learn, is that how do you combine the coverage of a team when you know somebody or you have a feeling that somebody is a scumbag. And go
This,
ahead.
no, this is an interesting point, and I'm so glad you brought this up because I think as writers we had an advantage because we could deal with the players we disliked or who treated us poorly. We could talk to each other about it, and we could write about the game. But I remember asking broadcasters, and I won't use names, but I knew a broadcaster and I knew a player he hated, and I was like, how hard is it for you to go on a broadcast every day and just sing this guy's praises every time he gets a hit? When really what you want to do is go, this guy's an ass, right? Like, I just think that's such a harder task for a broadcaster to put. And again, you're talking about putting a smiling face and putting positivity on everything. And I think that is partially the broadcaster's job. But I always thought that must be really hard for them because, and they saw things we didn't see. They traveled with the team like on the plane. And I have some stories that I can't tell here that I heard. Um, but I always thought that would be really tough to be a broadcaster to just grin through it and be like, what a great day for so and so, you know?
Yeah, you really aren't allowed to be yourself and to speak the way you want to speak.
Yeah,
As a broadcaster,
yeah,
you have
yeah. That's
to
fair.
you have to basically, especially now, promote the team. In my early days, I flew with the team. I stayed in their hotels. I rode their buses. I saw stuff that I wasn't able to write about, nor
Sure,
was I tempted to write about it
sure.
because, I wasn't out to. I wasn't out to throw these guys under a bus. My job was to tell the team, to tell the public, in hopefully the most entertaining way I could, what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's why I would ask when I would check into a hotel back when we stayed in the team hotels, I would make sure I wasn't on the team floor because I didn't want to know what was going on the floor. I didn't want to be tempted to write about it, and so I always made sure I never saw it.
Yeah, it's funny because you bring that up. Lynn Henning, your former coworker at the Detroit News, and I were polar opposites because he would purposely stay at the team hotel because he wanted to be able to run into the players and the coaches at the bar and have conversations with them and get some information. And that's great. I respect that. I got nothing against it. But I remember one time I walked into Baltimore and I saw somebody from the team in the lobby, and I go, "Are you guys staying here?" And he said, "Yes." And I was like, "Shit." Like I misbooked. Like I did not want to stay in the team hotel. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to see people doing things that I didn't need to know. Like I just didn't want to know. I figured my job was to cover him at the ballpark, and I didn't want to cross paths with him in public.
You know, I respected Lynn for the same reason as you, Chris, but I didn't like the fact that he resented all the Marriott points I was getting. So, you know, and once Marriott started handing out the points, no writer stayed with teams anymore. Yeah, first of all, the rates we usually ended up with weren't all that great, so we could always stay elsewhere, telling our papers we were saving them money. Meanwhile, we were uh, filling up our vacation funds with points.
All right, let me step in as the let me step in here as the outsider. The few baseball writers that I've talked to and met, the one thing they love and are interested in is not primarily baseball. It's hotel points. This is the Marriott points. The hotel points is the thing that turns them on. Yep.
Lynn Hannon was the one writer who was not interested in them, and I never could figure it out. But because you say, you know, you were polar opposites, I have to admit I was a polar opposite of Lynn, and I don't think I ever compromised anything by staying next door in a Marriott and not in the Hilton where the Tigers were.
Two things I'm going to tell you about Marriott points, and we should post a link. I'll send you this link, Tom, and we'll post the link. There's a story out there called "Sports Writers Love Marriott Points More Than You Love Anything," and it's one of my. I read it once a year, and half the people in it are people we know, like, and you know probably all of them. But it's all these tales of how these guys accumulated points and how they ran into each other in like Taiwan in the off season, like baseball writers, and how scouts like would leave bags in each Marriott. Like the scouts would leave a bag in Pittsburgh with a windbreaker and some warm clothes in it. And one of them was like, when I retire, I'm not going to get all my clothes back. Like I'm not going to know where all my stuff is. But I will also say I've been a non-baseball writer for 10 years and I don't travel a ton, but I've been out of baseball for 10 years and I still have Marriott points. I'm running low.
Good for you.
I am running low, but I have not paid for a hotel in 10 years. Wow. And in the 6 years I covered the Tigers, I didn't pay for a hotel. Like I've not paid for a hotel since 2008. That's not true. I have a couple because I've been off path or whatever, but for the most part, I still have. Do you still have Marriott points?
Oh yes, a ton.
Yeah, I'm sure you retired with way more.
So good.
You were in it a lot longer than I were, but I will send you that story if you've not read it. It is entertaining and fascinating. Tom, this is a Michigan podcast, so we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you like a question about this great state of ours. Like, what do you love doing? You don't have a ton of time because you're writing all the time still, but what do you love doing in Michigan? Where do you like to go? What makes you love it here?
I like East Tawas. I like the St. Clair River. And for 2 years, real early in my career, I covered the Mackinac, the Port Huron to Mackinac sailboat race, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And so I fell in love with Mackinac Island back then, but I just don't get up there very often. I like Northern Michigan. I don't go to Northern Michigan very often. I mean, you guys might not know this. I had a leg mishap many years ago, and I used to go skiing up in Northern Michigan. I can't do that anymore, and I miss it. I really do.
Yeah.
But I used to love riding the chairlifts in Northern Michigan. So, you know, Michigan is a great state, except for this. That stretch of I-75 from Toledo to Detroit is the ugliest darn road I've ever seen. I said that to my wife as we were coming back from Florida last week. I said, I've tried to give this stretch every break I can, but it is just an ugly stretch of road.
Well, that's good. We got this whole great state, and the only thing
Yeah.
that sucks is one stretch of road. That's not bad. And honestly, obvious that weirdly, that's probably the only stretch of Michigan that guys like Danny Worth ever saw, right? Like back and forth
That's
between.
right.
So sad.
That's
We used to Danny is not offended by that, but we used to call it the Danny Worth Parkway, if I recall.
Yep.
Like
Yes,
Back and forth.
yeah, he put more miles on that road than anybody. So, all right. Thanks so much for coming on, Tom.
Tom, thank you so much.
It was great to catch up with you.
good. It's good to see you, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's great to see you,
Cool.
Tom. It's great to catch up, and we should catch up off pods sometime and have a drink and tell the truth about the players that we couldn't talk about here. So
Absolutely.
awesome. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
You bet.
See ya.
All right.
You're listening to the Michigan's True Spirit podcast.
Welcome back to the Michigan's True Spirit podcast. I'm Chris. I'm here with Eric again, and we'd like to thank Tom Gage for coming on our little podcast that could tonight. So Tom's a great dude. Interesting listening to him. Love Tom.
It's terrific.
Thanks, Tom.
Terrific.
And before we forget, this is a vodka podcast. If you're not going to drink responsibly, please don't drink at all. So this is the segment we like to call My Michigan. This is a podcast about Michigan. It's Michigan's True Spirit podcast. We're contractually obligated to talk about Michigan. And this time of year, what would you really like to talk about, Eric? It's spring.
Yes. The voice of the turtle is heard in our land again, We got to shake off the rust and dust, get outside. It's amazing how many people live in your neighborhood. Like, where were these people? They're coming out, like worms after a rain. It's just, they're filthy with people. Like, you didn't know these people existed.
I went to college at Northern Michigan University, and I can tell you the first day that the sun was shining and the temperature got past like 45 degrees, people would skip class and sit on the lawn in their t-shirts and soak up the sun.
Of course, you got to take in the nature.
You like going for walks, like hiking, Eric? Where do you like to go? There's a lot of great places in Michigan to hike.
One of my favorite places I found last summer was, and don't take this the wrong way, the name of it is the Rosie Mound Natural Area.
How could I take that the wrong way?
It's just south of Grand Haven. The Rosie Mound is absolutely gorgeous. You walk up this kind of dune, but it's wooded, and it's got little boardwalks, and you're paid off with a beautiful vista of Lake Michigan. Rosie Mound Natural. If you haven't done that, you got to do that. It's a great spot.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but speaking of Marquette, that was a weird segue. There's a lot of places to hike in the UP. And I don't know what, like a lot of college experience, like my friends would go to Central or Western and they'd go to the Wayside and hang out at the bar and whatever. And when I was at college at Northern, like we would be like, hey, which waterfall do you want to hike to? Like it was just such a different college experience. Yeah. And there's a lot of hiking trails up there, a lot of waterfalls to see. I do remember this one time where we Sugarloaf. Have you been to Sugarloaf Mountain in Marquette?
In Marquette? No.
Yes. You're thinking about Sugarloaf. Yeah.
There's another Sugarloaf near Cedar in by Traverse City.
Yeah, that's a ski resort. Sugarloaf Mountain in Marquette is just a big giant hill. There's no skiing there that I know of. But you climb up and you can. Marquette's a cool town. Like it's a decent sized town, but you can drive 5 minutes out of town and you're like in the middle of scenic nowhere. And if you climb Sugarloaf, you can, see Lake Superior and see downtown Marquette and the college and all the stuff. But we carried a keg up Sugarloaf. We combined the college experience that everybody else has with the college experience that we had at Northern, which combined the best of drinking in nature. So if you haven't been to Marquette,
is a lot. A keg is a lot of weight and a lot of beverage. You guys are committed. How many of you were there?
It seems like there were dozens.
Okay. Maybe.
Dozens. I do remember one of my friends. I shouldn't even talk about him on this podcast because he's going to take pride in this. That we got the keg out of the car and he was like, "I'm not helping," because he knew that none of us would leave the keg behind.
Sure.
Yeah. So he basically just dug in and was like, "I'm not carrying it," and just walked up the hill by himself.
Quite the gambit right there.
The Jerk Store called, and they're running out of view. Anywhere else you like to hike?
I just want to finish that thought on Sugarloaf and Traverse, which is kind of interesting. There was a big secret philanthropist buyer, and it was recently revealed to be the Ball family of Ball jar
Yeah,
fame. And like the
sure.
Ball Arena is um in Denver where the Nuggets play. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I love the UP too. Um Kitchita Kippy is kind of a
Get you
really
to Kippy.
cool. Yeah, the Big Spring is really kind of cool. It's worth a visit. Um One thing I really want to do is hike the shoreline of Pictured Rocks. Go up to like
Oh yeah,
Grand Marais there. I've never done that,
yeah.
but they advertise or like have a depiction of that trail there. And I think that would be a fun hike. I'm assuming you can like backpack it or whatever. I'm not a
Absolutely.
big nature guy, but a couple nights of doing something like that would be pretty neat.
I'm going to go off the board here because there's so much coastline in Michigan and so many great places to hike. You go over to Ludington, there's a lighthouse that I think you can only get to by like hiking the beach
Hmm.
forever. Like there's
Uh,
so much scenic stuff, but there's
Sable, big
trails.
Sable,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's trails
little
everywhere, and
Sable.
you can always find one because I got a friend who's got a place on the Osable River east of Grayling, and there's a place called the Mason Tract Pathway, which is like 14 or 15 miles of hiking trail. Like you can hike from Roscommon to his place. And I stayed at his place a few times in the past couple of years, hiked that trail a lot in the winter, which was awesome. Kind of blazed a trail on the road with my truck out into the woods and hiked. But I did one hike last summer, and I remember I got out there and I was wearing like a t-shirt and short socks with hiking shoes, and hiking it. It's buzzing with bugs and it's 1,000 degrees and it's humid. And I saw these fishermen with full hair like nets over themselves to protect
Mhm.
themselves. And I'm like, what am I doing out here? And I hiked for a while and I'm allergic to everything. So I got in my car and I went to a restaurant. I was itchy and I was sneezing and my leg itched and I shook my pant leg and a tick fell out and landed on the restaurant floor and I stepped on it. And then I remember I was like itching and I was like, I'm just paranoid. Like I have allergies. I'm just freaking out because there were bugs or whatever. But a week later, we were in my truck and we got out. My kid goes, I just kicked a tick off your floor of your truck. I'm like, oh, well, that's two. And then I think my back itched. I'm like, that's weird, but I'm just psycho. Like, there's no way. So fast forward like 6 months, I'm at my annual physical and I'm like, something irritating my back. And do you know that when ticks detach, they leave part of themselves in you?
I did know that. Yeah. Hmm. So you had some trouble with this thing.
Pausing and drinking for effect. Yes, I had a tick and then a tick mouth in my back for, I don't know, 8 months.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah,
You know, Chris, some
that's great.
people are just built for the indoors, maybe,
I am so glad, by the way, because I didn't get Lyme disease, but also there's some kind of a tick-borne thing where you are allergic to red meat. Have you heard about this type of
No,
tick?
I've never heard
There's
of
a
this.
tick that if it bites you, you will develop a red meat allergy, which would
Devastate
suck.
you.
That
Yeah,
would
that
be
would suck.
devastating. That would suck. So I don't know. That wasn't a very good advertisement for hiking in Michigan, but do hike the Mason Track Pathway. It's awesome. Do it in the winter. If you do it in the summer, wear long socks and get yourself some bug spray. Be smarter than me, which will not be hard.
Go outside.
Go outside,
It's good for you.
hit a distillery, hit a winery, then go for a walk. Pure Michigan. That's my. Bye bye.
North River Vodka. It's Michigan's true spirit. Now back to Chris and Eric.
Welcome back to the Michigan's True Spirit podcast. This is our final segment. Thanks for tuning in and sticking with us and hanging around, waiting, tapping your fingers, texting us, wondering where your next podcast was. I heard from nobody except a couple siblings. This is Rock or Crock. This is the best segment in podcasting history where I describe a band that's going to play a show in Michigan. I give Eric their real name. I give him a fake name. He has to figure out which is Rock and which is Crock. Currently,
Oh,
we've done this. So go ahead.
yeah, and by my recollection, it's been a while, but I am undefeated in this game.
You are 8-9. You are one game under 500. It's your chance to get to coin flip land today. Are you ready to play
Yes,
Rock or
I'm
Crock,
ready.
Eric?
Yes.
This is kind of a long description. Let's roll. This band is a pop punk, skate punk, and alternative band from the Chicago suburbs. Their music is described as energetic and sarcastic, characterized by raw DIY style production, driving rhythms, powerful guitar riffs. often compared to 90s alternative punk revival. And I did listen to them for 30 seconds today, and it sounds a bit like a Green Day cover band. That's not a bad thing. Featuring high octane, melodic, and occasionally grittier garage rock elements. Garage rock is my home, by the way. They are known for energetic live performances, often involving mosh pits, with a reputation for raw, intense shows. Notable releases include, and I believe this might be their only releases, 2 albums called Golf Course Intercourse
Okay, I actually enjoy that.
and Which Way to Vegas.
Okay, less
They
clever.
also have a song called Summer Camp Slut. I just had to put that in there because I saw the song name.
That was my nickname.
This is where I cover my mouth so you don't get a read, and I will go to silence and not answer any of your questions. I've fallen into your trap once. It will not happen again. Are you ready for your band names, Eric?
Yes.
Is this band called Cheerleader Roadkill?
Okay.
Or is this band called Low Effort Lance?
Cheerleader Roadkill is obviously the superior of the 2 names. Whether or not that name has been concocted by you or by these young men, I assume from suburban Chicago, I have yet to discern, because I'm looking into your eyes. Cheerleader Roadkill, pretty clever, pretty good name. That seems a little too contrived. It seems a little too perfect. Low effort Lance. Low effort Lance. Although low effort Lance, you're going to tell a story about some guy named Lance and he had low effort. And that's where you got this name. So I'm going to go 180 on this. I'm going to say the band is called Cheerleader Roadkill, even though that seems more contrived. And I'm going to say you came up with, in an effort to fool me, Low Effort Lance, because there's some guy you worked with who didn't put in all the effort, and you have some story about that. That's my final answer. The band is Cheerleader Roadkill. You came up with Low Effort Lance. Final answer. How'd I do?
I regret to inform myself that you outsmarted me this week, and I thought I had you nailed this time. I thought I had you nailed, because Cheerleader Roadkill is much more contrived. That's usually the angle you take.
Mm-hmm.
Cheerleader Roadkill is headlining the Green Door in Lansing on April 24th, along with a wannabe.
You clearly couldn't have put the poison in my drink.
With a wannabe. A wannabe. It's one word. AWANNABE. April 24th with a wannabe and Pure Intention. Have you been to the Green Door in Lansing?
Never.
It's a treat.
Okay.
You remember where we saw Church of Cash, the Tip Top Deluxe bar,
Tip Top
right?
Deluxe, yeah.
I would say that the Green Door is a much larger version of the same thing. It's a
neighborhood bar
with posts, weird sight lines. I will tell you, I've never seen a concert there. I would say, again, this is not a bad thing. I would say that the Green Door, I would characterize it as where drunk women go to dance to cover bands. That's what I would say.
What time do they open? How quick can I get there?
So I have never actually seen a concert at the Green Door. I had tickets to a concert at the Green Door recently. Laura Jane Grace was playing the Green Door, which shocked me.
Oh, wow,
She was not on tour and had a standalone concert at this weird venue in Lansing. And I think you might recall this. This was the night where I decided at the last minute, instead of seeing Laura Jane Grace in Lansing, I was going to see Dinosaur Pile Up for the second day in a row, and I drove to Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I will catch Laura Jane Grace later, and you should hit the Green Door for drunk dancing cover band night or to see Cheerleader Roadkill. I have this is my entire Low Effort Lance story. Okay. I've had this list on my phone for years where I just add band names. And at some point in my life, somebody's going to know what this is. I played a game. I always have like one game on my phone and then I delete it because I'm spending way too much time on this game. So I delete it to try to put my attention back on life. And then all I do is find another game to waste my time. But at some point I played a game on my iPhone and one of the characters' names was Low Effort Lance. And it just struck me funny. So I put it in my phone band names. So that's all I got. So congratulations, Eric. Congratulations. For reaching 9 and 9. You're like
I'm feeling pretty smug.
You're like an AL Central team. Like not too sexy, not showing off.
Yeah. I'm the Mike Maroth of this game, I guess.
I guess I am too, because I am now 9-9 as well. So anyway, congrats to both of us on breaking even.
Mediocrity. Here's to mediocrity.
Here's to mediocrity. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks to Tom Gage for coming on. Thanks to Logan for producing. Thanks to Dinosaur Pilot for letting us use Peninsula. Thanks to Grand Trevor's Distillery for making this whiskey I'm drinking. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, whatever. Click buttons, share, tell people, go for a walk. You got anything else, Eric? We're just rambling now.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.